Hello there, I'm Colonel Failure, and this is A Train 9 version 3. Now, this might not be exactly as you remember it. We've got our first station up, and, it's running. We've got two trains now shuttling back and forth between these two kind of... I guess they're kind of suburbs. The map is basically treated as one large city. However, we're not going to be sticking around here for long, because the game has already finished. Effectively, I have gone bankrupt. The fact that I've got 7 million quid in the bank, notwithstanding, I've gone bust, and I'll explain why. We'll leave this running, but we spend a lot of time looking in the economic information in our reports, and we're doing all right. Where are we? April, and we're at 6 million profit so far this year. Fantastic, so far so good. How is it possible that we've gone bankrupt? And actually, I doomed myself to failure from the get-go, and I'll explain why. If we look back through the history of, let's back right up to the start. Okay, so right back at the start, what we've got going on here is your taxes, so your debt is made up of loans and taxes. So VAT is basically tax that you pay on everything you sell. That's fine. I've got no problem with that. You get paid that on top of kind of the regular price of tickets. So I'm cool with that. That's fine. Now, property tax. That's the absolute killer, and that is why. I mean, since the last episode, I have played through probably 5-6 years on 4 or 5 times, and in every single case the same thing happens. I've even tried it without placing this rail link down. So what's the problem? Why is this happening? So you pay property tax based on the value of your property. Now, as well as the stuff that I've placed, such as stations and wind turbines and solar plants and that kind of stuff, it also includes all the stuff I got for free based on the custom map. So that includes depots and factories and all of that kind of stuff. And if we go over to the market here and look at the real estate, so there's our headquarters, which we can't sell. You can't sell your headquarters. Its current market value is 13 million quid. Fabulous. It makes a bit of profit every year. So much the better. But because it's in a high growth area, its land value increases every year. Let's just zoom in on it here. Is this it on the corner? Yeah, here we go. So it's in a high growth area, and as such the land value attached to it increases every year, and that means that I have to pay tax on that change in land value. So it goes up every year. Same with the wind turbines, same with these materials depots, same with factories. Everything that I built in the setup map has led to my absolute downfall, because it's got to the point where I actually can't make the money enough to cover the property tax. So if we scroll through, so here's where we started out, and I owed 6 million in property tax. Okay, we could live with that. The following year, 7 million in property tax, and that's fine. While you've got 480 million in the bank, you're quite happy to kind of go, sure, yeah, have your 7 million. The year after, 14 million in property tax. Now, that's also in part due to placing extra power kind of subsidiaries down. So that kind of built up. And then you start getting to actual severity. And the problem you end up with there is you have no chance of actually keeping up with it. So at 398 million, that's more or less the price when I put the station down. And then, of course, you have to take out a loan in order to cover the shortfall in tax, and at which point you're possibly making a profit. So then you have income tax to pay as well. So it taxes you based on the amount you've got coming in. Now, if you've built all this stuff up organically, that's not going to be a problem, because you've made the money in order to sink into extra subsidiaries along the way. But what I've got 4 factories and at least 4 depots that I basically got for free without having earned them. And the upshot of that is that as those cities grow, they increase in value, and the share price, the property tax, just continues to spiral out of control. Which means that not only are capital investments difficult, if you make them, you'll go bust. And the game is such that if you drop below $0 for longer than like a day in game time, you're bankrupt. That's all there is to it. And that's why I've got a 10 million loan. I took out a loan to cover the tax one year, thinking maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to recoup that. So here we go. This is the end of the line. Don't worry though, I'm going to start again, having learned from my mistakes. The good news is that I have also engaged 300% speed, so we can go really fast. So there we go. I just dropped from 6 million to minus 9 million. And that was down to paying my tax. And so here we go. This is what you're looking for, is you're looking for the changes in investment, which carries into the total funds profit area here. And it will flip up and down quite radically, because it covers the regular fluctuations in land value. So right now it's saying I've made 40 million quid profit this year, now 24, now 36. So it does radically shift around, and you know, when I've actually made 9 million profit to June, based on the success of my business, you can see how this is going to land me in trouble, because even though the tax rates are very fair, I use the word fair loosely. Even though they're fair, I can't make the profit enough to actually pay them off. So we're going to start again. Join me in a moment with a new map. Here we go. Virgin landscape. Not a thing to see as far as the horizon. Magnificent. There is absolutely nothing here. Just me and 700 grand. Yes, I gave myself a little bit more money. This is just it's basically just a random created map that I've chucked up. So what's the strategy? How's this going to differ from how we played before? First and foremost, I'm going to build everything manually, which should mean that we don't end up having factories that are generating a huge loss. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to go with rail from the get-go, because another thing I discovered, which kind of surprised me a little bit, but perhaps shouldn't have done, is that land values start to shoot through the sun as soon as you start making any money. So you want to build rail while the land values are pitiful. That makes sense, right? That's completely logical. So let's get to work. So our very first thing we're going to make is a station. And I did a kind of a test run on this yesterday, and this is going to work, he says confidently. So as you can see, it's only 14 million for this. Now, when we were placing stations in the other game, you can remember they were hitting 100 and some odd million to place the station. Just ridiculous. So we're going to go right about there. There's our first station. Now, we want towns to evolve around stuff we've already placed, so that we don't end up having to fork out to expand. So whereas in the last one I tried kind of fruitlessly to leave space to expand into, so I would reserve areas that people were not permitted to build, in order that I could expand there later. Well, yeah, I mean, that wasn't a bad call, but it wasn't a good one. So we're going to, we're going to actually buy all of that stuff up immediately, and we'll go from there. Actually, let's fix to that point, and then let's get our next station in. So, yes, so apologies for the restart, but I fail, so you don't have to. There you go. That's the policy. We're not going to go too aggressive with regard to station size. I mean, frankly, if this ends up being a complete success, then what I'll do is I'll have the money to kind of bulldoze all kinds of stuff. But you're talking in the hundreds of millions. But I'll have the cash to do that if this is a huge success. And if it isn't a huge success, well, what I'll have done is I'll have built in a sustainable fashion, so that I don't get absolutely murdered by the taxman. Okay, so to give you an overview of what I've actually built here, this area here is going to be our factory central, which is why there's only one platform on this side. Nothing but factories, that's it. This end is going to be settled as our initial town, but we're not going with one initial town, we're going to go with two. And we'll have our second one in this area here, with a third down here when we decide to expand. I know, pretty cool. So let's get another station in here, and what I want to make sure, hold on, is that I'm pointing the track in such a way that I can expand it later easily. What do we think? I kind of want the station building on that side. Ugh, don't like any of those. It would perhaps be useful for me to turn the grid on, but frankly, I'm not going to. I know. Deal with it. Good. Right. So there's our second station. So now we want to add our track here. Now we could go up and over, I guess. Or can we go through? Or we could just go around the outside. Actually, that's probably the sensible way to go. There we go. So, that's 3 stations hooked up. So my thinking is, we pick up from here, drop off there, pick up from here, drop off there. Trucks, thing of the past. Despite the fact that trucks were fairly profitable, and they didn't represent massive capital investments, so weren't ever going to hit me too hard on tax. I'm not going that way this time. In the kind of the test run that I did while you weren't watching, I built just an insane track network. Is this sensible? Yeah, we're not going to build any houses and what have you here, so that's fine. And we'll start out with this basically supporting just one train in each direction. We're going to want to do clever things with multiple trains later, but we'll expand that rail as it happens. So we'll have passenger rail going around the outside, shuttling between the two, and then we'll have goods rail on the inside. But there we go. So we've got 2 kind of town areas ready to build up, over here and over here. This will be factories and, I think, power as well, although that might be tricky to build since there won't be a depot here to pick up the resources. So, first things first, let's get ourselves a factory set up. Now, I'm going to go with medium, just to keep pace with it. It's tempting to go even more than that, but I'll stick with medium. So there we go, there's our medium factory, and then we want materials depots. Now, the thing with depots is they don't hold enough materials for your cities to build up in gangbuster style. You need multiple depots in order to hold enough materials for you to go absolutely hog wild. Some of the bigger stuff uses 200, 300, 400. I think one of the biggest ones uses like 1,500 materials. You can imagine how much depot space you're going to need for that. We'll go slightly more conservative, I think. In fact, before I put that in, let's get the roads up. Roads being all important. As you can recall, if this is your first episode, roads are important. They do self-build a little, not a lot, but but a little bit. But the AI is somewhat. What's the word I'm looking for? Conservative, let's say, with regard to how much it will actually build up. Okay, so and that's the other thing that I kind of spotted in the abortive playthrough that we've just abandoned, is that you will end up paying through the nose just for road. Road itself becomes extraordinarily expensive to build if your land value has increased dramatically, which just the presence of any kind of a train will do. And rather than reserve tiles, what I'm not going to do, I'm just going to leave that area blank. So there should be nowhere for any AI to place on there, causing me drama later on. That's the theory anyway. Come on, you want to go across there? No? Okay, right, well, we'll just, we'll do it differently. It's not pretty, but I kind of like it. Yeah, I do like the way that that you know this builds somewhat organically. Can I get across there? No. Can I get across there? No. I should have thought of that beforehand, shouldn't I? I also had a mess around with elevation, yes, which means that you know it's possible to bridge over track in order to get from one side to the other. Tunneling is slightly more complicated because you need a heck of a lot of space for a suitable tunnel. Why are you not happy? Maybe if I remove this bit here. I know you've seen me play before. I'm forever tearing up stuff that was fine. There we go. Yeah, we happy with that? Yeah, we're happy with that. And then we'll link to it using methods. No, look, just be cool. There we go. There we go. Move all of this and then link it back up properly. Not the cheapest thing I've ever done, but hey, when is anything worthwhile ever cheap? Anywhere you can link to that will make you happy. Yes, there. I saw it. Marvellous. Again, slightly odd looking. But that should leave enough space for people to build. Yeah, whatever. And then we'll do something similar over here. Oh, look, that would be quite nice. Let's take you out just a little bit further. The reason I'm doing this now is because later it just gets too expensive. Beautiful. I like it a lot. And this is going to be, you know, supremely valuable land because it's right next to the station. Come on. There we go. Also leaving me plenty of space to expand in the future. Well, no. Straight line would be good there. There we are. One more. Can we do some kind of clever arcing? It's not quite what I'm after. That's not bad. And neither is that. So from here, just to link these two would be helpful. I've messed with bus routes as well, and you know none of it's straightforward. Buses seemingly very difficult to make a profit from. Go on, you'll want it there somewhere. There we go. That's the fun. Right, good. Okay, so then we'll put our depot in here somewhere. The other downside to this stuff, you can't take it away. You can't remove it. Yes, and that's kind of critical. And what I don't really want to be doing is sticking it in here, in this incredibly high value area. I'll put it right in the middle there, so that the AI's got room to build around the outside. Okay, and then we'll go up to the other end. So effectively, the 200 million extra that I gave myself to start with, I'm now going to burn pretty much straight away in placing down roads and factories and everything else that I need to get started. So it does sort of balance out, except that hopefully I don't get quite so horribly burned financially, so that the game can actually progress a little. Let's go as far as there. No. Cancel. Let's just fix what we've got. Take one up No, 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 no. Get the box completed first. Something like that. Nice. Do the same on the other side. No? Where do you actually want to connect to? Maybe I haven't left enough space. Hold on. So it is, I mean, it is going to cost me more when I revisit this area. See, so it automatically wants to build a bridge there, but that means that, you know, that's not helpful for any houses that want to sit next to it. So we'll go to there, and then we'll just flatten. Where are we? I want to flatten that bit, please. Flatten. What have I done wrong? I haven't set the height. Oh, maybe you can't do it if you're paused. So unpause ever so slightly. No, you can only do it when you're paused. Alright, fair enough. Alright. It's single click, you can't just hold down. Right, fine, okay. Let's do that, and then... That's 0 meters above sea level, which should be about where we are. It's not the most intuitive kind of land building. Okay, so it's going to cost 17 million apparently. I could have just built a flat map, but I like having to work around the stuff that's there. Okay, cool. Right, back to road. Yeah, I know. Why would I, you know, given the power of doing it all exactly how I want, why would I then hinder myself? Are you not flat? You sure as hell look flat. There we go. You're flat now. I tell you that. A little slim one there, and then we'll just bang out another one here. That should more or less cover it. Okay, and then obviously once we expand the tracks out, we'll build level crossings and all that kind of stuff, or a bridge or something, and then that will look semi-glamorous. Let's not get carried away. It's not going to be too glamorous. And then let's get our materials depot down, and again I don't really want to place it on the highest value area, so I'll stick it out, and that's not going to leave much coverage for the earlier stuff. Actually, we'll put it here. Right, okay, good. Right, so that's factory placed, that's depots placed. We haven't got power yet, but you need resources in order to build those, so let's build our first train. Hooray. We'll go straight for freight. Now, there's not an awful lot of train choices in this. I might have a look around at some point for some mods that can help us out. Right, so now this can carry a maximum of 24 cargo. That's exactly the kind of thing we want. And let's put it to work. And we'll go. Let's start from here. There we are. Right. Off we jolly well go. Right. Okay. No, let's just continue as you for now. Let's give you proper instructions next time you're there. So all of this, you will be able to say, I remember when all this was fields. Okay, here we are at the factory station. Now, this is... Pass from individual departures. No, you see, what I'd quite like is a wait till full. So we'll go load, direction straight, service schedule. Actually, let's set departure times. I will go from 4 a.m. and then we'll put an hour break each time you arrive. So from 4 a.m. through till midnight with an hour break each time you arrive. Happy with that? Yes. Okay, off we go. So there's nothing there at the moment. So all this is just going to be costing me, you know, bucks for the time being. Right, now when you get here, we want you to reverse direction. We want you to unload, and then you can leave straight after you're done. There we go. Right, back to the... Here we go. Straight through again. Load only between an hour stop, 4 a.m. to midnight are your takeoff times. Okay, cool. That should be enough to give that factory just a little bit of time to reload itself. Okay, unload. There we go. Everybody's happy. Good. Right, so all being well, we'll close the timetable assistant. Now, if we now rip this up to mega speed, you can see the factory started working. We'll slow it down again. Factory started working. Train loads up. Train drops off. Now, the first thing we're going to need, and the last thing that I'll do in this episode today, is I'll get our initial power down. You can see already that parks have started being built over here. What a complete and utter waste of space. That's not going to help me make my fortune. But what this is allowing me to do is to build up in a fairly organic fashion. Splendid. Now, this factory is almost keeping pace with the demand that this train puts on it, and that's what I was after. Right, let's get some power up. We'll go straight for solar because that will make life a little easier. There we go. We have light. Let there be light. Smashing. So we've got our first people moving in. We've now got power. We've got our first train running. Once these will now build up really quite quickly, especially if I stick it on mega speed. And after that, we can start looking at expanding out again. And maybe we do want to stick, you know, trucks and so forth down as kind of short haulage specialists. I'll figure it out. But thank you very much for tuning in. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you've not done so already. I've been Colonel Failure. I'll catch you next time.